Open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3.
Yo, it's pictures from the book
This is the voice of reason. I'm baby Oprah. Voice of reason. Voice of reason. How y'all doing out here tonight? Okay, so welcome to another wonderful episode of The Voice of Reason. I'm your host, Baby Oprah, also known as Kadi. And like usual, I have very special guests on the show with us today to talk about a very special topic to me that's dear to my heart. But I'm going to have them introduce themselves first. So we're going to go, how y'all want to do this? Right to left? We're going to start here. Right. Just let us know your name, where you're from. Anything else you want to share?
Okay. Hi, my name is Nyuma. I'm from East Orange. My family is from Gambia, which is in West Africa. It's like mad tiny, so it's like right inside of Senegal. I'm the oldest of 7 children. I'm a writer / artist. I do a lot of writing in poetry and short stories. I'm also an organizer. I work a lot with LGBTQ Muslims and helping them in terms of like making sure they're okay and having them be equipped in terms of like self-love and community and things like that. And I want to be an inspiring educator. Yeah.
I love that. Hey, that was a gift. I
was able to follow that. Nice and quick. I just want my need nice and quick. So, hi, I'm Tamara. I'm Haitian. I was born in Haiti, but I'm from Orange. My family was from Haiti. And okay, I said that the camera guys from Haiti.
The Haitians are having a little game. I told you, Haitians be with that gang stuff all the time.
I'm currently venturing out to be an event planner, so, hit me up. And she's teaching me some stuff now. But, yeah, that's it. If you guys want to follow my Instagram, we got to put that in there. Sweet Mara.
Hi guys, my name is Valery Nunez. I'm Dominican. I was actually born here. I was first born. My mom conceived me over there and was like, I need American. And I live now in Clifton. I just moved, so I'm like thinking about like where am I? I'm a 2nd grade teacher, so that's what I do. I'm also an event planner, so I have my own business. Follow us for Lunas. And yeah, so like she said, that's pretty much it, right?
Well, I told y'all a little bit why y'all here, but I'm going to tell y'all, for those of you who don't know, I am from East Orange. I was born and raised here. However, my family is from Ivory Coast, which is located in West Africa. Gang, gang. I always, when people ask me where I'm from, I always say I'm African. Like, I always start off with, like, where my family is from, because essentially that's where I feel like I'm from. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this, because like I'm always covering different obstacles that we go through, and I don't think a lot of people touch on the obstacle it is growing up in America with families, parents specifically from different cultures. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize how like not normal a lot of like the experience is with growing up with parents who weren't born here. And until I saw a meme the other day that really made me want to talk about this topic. It was like, I'm going to F this meme up. But it said something to the fact of, imagine being punished for not being able to read a government documented form in 3rd grade. And when I tell y'all, that was my life growing up. Like, I swear, the moment my parents found out I could read, and I think that was about 1st grade,
you were doing everything for that.
I was not reading no Dr. Seuss. It was straight up. The IRS just said this. Tell me what it said. The rent. What did they say here? And I'm literally over here putting context clues together, sounding out big ass words, and just straight up lying. Like, I think that's where a lot of where I learned to lie. Because I swear to God, I'm like, I don't feel like hearing their mouth and yelling at me. I don't know what this shit is saying.
Bullshit. And then you become good at it.
Yeah.
Right. You become really good at it.
Especially when the teacher send you some notes at home, though.
Oh my God.
Yo, I used to forge my own signature.
I always do that.
Same thing. I used to do my mom's signature all the time. She would be sleeping.
You know why I forged my own signature, and I want us to get into that. The biggest struggle for me first was you learn that you're different when you start going to school. Mm-hmm. Like my mom and dad came here. They were like in their late 30s, 40s. Well, my mom was in her late 30s, 40s. My dad was like 40, 50. And my mom stayed at home first. You know, she didn't have a job. So she had my sisters and I back to back. And I know my mom told us that we didn't speak English because we were always home with her.
I didn't speak English either.
So she would take us to one of the Jamaicans in one of our buildings because they just think all English is English. Sis was speaking patois, teaching us patois English, and when I tell you we was fucked to the up. Like, I don't even think that's probably why I had a hard time. Like what people say high school should have been like oh you being teased, trying to fit in. That was daycare for me. Like I remember not having no friends. I remember feeling like an outcast. I hated. Like, I would do my dad, my mom for a picture, they would dress us up in African clothes. I hated it. Like, literally, if I could get butt naked.
But don't you love it now, though?
Yeah, right.
But I think the younger part of me is like,
because
you're not taught.
Yeah. Like,
Yes.
I remember my mom used to dress me up in uniform, and I would literally sneak it off. I go around the block, take it off, put regular clothes on, and then when I would come back, put the uniform back on because you just felt left out. Like,
right.
You already don't know the language. Like, I was in ESL. Like, I knew all Spanish. That was my first language. So when I went in, I had to go into ESL class and also be a person that had to learn English and still be part of my culture at home. Mm-hmm. And, like, juggling both, you just didn't know where you fit in. Like,
right.
You didn't know where to
I
go.
want to ask you, if you could go back into your childhood, tell me a point in time where you realized, okay, I'm fucking with two different cultures right now. Like, that moment where you had to realize your difference.
I think it's when I graduated in 5th grade in elementary school. Shout out to Jackson Academy. But like my parents, like they bought me African attire, and like I was part of the choir, and we sang, we danced, all that good stuff. And then after, like we still had a week of school left, and I'm talking to all my peers and stuff, and they're just like, oh, like you didn't follow dress code, like why were you wearing that? Like what did you think you were doing? And I'm just like, I didn't think it was a big deal, but, like, I kind of internalized it in the way that, like, yo, like, I'm really different. And I've always felt different, but it's, like, trying to, like, it's, like, very weird being bicultural where, like, you know, like, okay, like, you have to balance or navigate between being, like, having African heritage and having the privilege to know where you're from.
Right.
And also having a Black American experience, which is, like, it's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, how do I navigate between those two and put that world together? And it's like, I was, like, taunt and, like, teased for, like, you know, my dad was a cab driver, so sometimes he would drop me off and things like that. And, like, I grew up in the hood, so it's just, like, it was a different experience. But at the same time, I felt like it was a learning moment, you know, and the guys that, like, you know, people aren't gonna accept you for who you are, but, like, at the end of the day, if you fuck with you, that's what really matters.
Right.
Because nobody's gonna give a fuck about you like you know.
But I feel like at that young age, you don't know yourself.
No, you don't.
Right.
And it's like you're still navigating and figuring things out, and that's the process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to ask Tamara, because you were actually born in Haiti.
Yes.
So you came here when you was 3. Do you even remember? Do you remember anything?
No,
about
I don't remember anything. But when my parents moved here, we moved in like in a whole Haitian building.
Oh, so you was
around.
You was
yes, I was around. Even in middle school, elementary, like in Orange, where I lived at, I had Haitians all around me.
Bruh.
Yes, everywhere we was living is Haitians. Like,
you say that.
yeah, it was all Haitian. So I didn't feel like any type different, I can tell you, until I got to high school, so pretty much, because you know, I still was around Haitian, but I started to get into myself and starting to learn, like, oh, okay, like, wow, she's doing this. Oh, I can't go to this party. Like, kids are going out, and my mother's like, where are you going?
Right.
And I haven't called my friends, like, I can't go out. Like, I got to be home by 10:30. But the party starts at 10 o'clock, so I'm not just going to stay home.
Right.
But I was always around Haitians. Like, that was a good thing for my friends. They always kept me around Haitians.
So you knew, like, you were around essentially people you were comfortable around,
so,
especially coming from Haiti.
Yeah, it was like, especially Irvington. We first moved in.
Oh yeah.
So it was Haitians all over Irvington, Newark, and we moved to Orange. My next door neighbor was Haitian. My whole building was just Haitians all over. We ran that whole building.
Oh yeah.
So I was literally. So it was a good thing for me. But
I want to ask, because you mentioned, like, you know, your curfew, like you couldn't until high school when you noticed you couldn't do what everyone else was doing. Another struggle I think a lot of people don't discuss is the cultural values and morals that are different.
Yes.
That makes you raised different. Now, it's not even being raised different, because you still are in a place where you have to balance being here,
Yes.
you know, having friends who are American or just being in America, period, but then having values that don't apply to the standards here.
Yeah, it's like totally. It's like they look at you like, oh, you can't go out. Wow, why? I'm like, I know. I'm sorry. I know I'm in high school, but I'm shit. I can't go anywhere.
Right.
Like, my mother told me I can't do this, and I'm gonna respect her wishes, or I'm gonna get my ass beat.
Yeah.
Wish that I'm either gonna stay home or get my ass beat by both my parents, my mother and my dad. When I get
double
home.
team.
Oh, they double team this ass real quick, and I wasn't having that.
Did you rebel? Were you a rebel?
Yeah, I was like the oldest, so I'm the oldest of 7 children. So like my teenage years, preteen years was like really like I was a really smart kid, but like I was really like 8th grade was a shift, and I realized that shift was like, you know what, like not that nothing really matters, but it was basically like fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want, and I'm still smart, and I was still excelling and things like that, but like I had a lot of behavioral issues because of like the things that I've gone on like in my childhood and things like that. And you know, I have a lot of childhood trauma between like sexual assault and things like that were never really addressed or acknowledged. So it's like I realized in the growing years of like being a teenager and things like that, like I had a lot of like PTSD and like flashbacks and things like that. And you know, I just like was trying to navigate between being the oldest of 7 children and having 2 parents who were like, well, you need to grow up and you need to like have all these responsibilities and take care of your sister and still do well in school. And like, and it's like no matter how well I did, it was like it didn't matter because like it was like I would get an A-. Why didn't you get an A+?
You're never good enough.
So it's like it's that internalizing of like self-worth and like putting all that into like external things, you know, and like really compromising like who I am to try to fit into society. But it's like I never really belonged. And I grew up on the same street, and like I've been the odd one out ever since I've been like a teenager. So it's like I had friends that like childhood friends, and I also had friends that like weren't my childhood friends and that we grew up together and things like that. So it was like, you know, by the time high school came, I was like, I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna live my best life. So like
how'd that work out for you?
I mean, the last time I got a whooping was like 11th grade. Like my mom, so I got a boyfriend. So I went to my boyfriend's house.
You knew better.
I went to my boyfriend's house and like my mom snitched on me. And like, bro,
she told your dad?
She told my dad, bro. It was crazy. I got a whooping. Then she started snitching on my other sister. I don't know what my other sister did, but she got a whooping. I'm just like, bro, I can't live like this. I'm done. But I still was doing harass shit with my harass friends.
Oh my God. Val, how was it for you? Like,
for me, so it's funny that you guys talked about like when you started noticing a shift. For me, a lot of my cousins were actually born in DR. So I was one of those that was born here. And I think I started seeing the shift when in middle school, when like I was made fun of because I would talk proper. Or I would talk American, or I couldn't speak good Spanish.
Oh, from your family?
From my family. I never got that from people at school. I never got that like being picked on or anything like that when it came to my culture at school, because I went from living in Harlem, where all the Dominicans were, to living in Patterson, where all the Dominicans were. So it didn't really matter. So
all the Dominicans.
So it didn't really matter. But when at home, it was a little different because I lost a lot of my Spanish when I first started speaking English, and so I would be made fun of at home from my cousins who would be like, oh, you're not a true Dominican, or you're American first, or, you know, so that kind of like, and growing up, that's kind of rough because you don't really know. I started getting to this point where like, so where do I fit in? Like, am I like 100% American, or do I count my culture? Do I not say I'm Dominican? Like, it was kind of rough in that sense, but at school, I always related to my culture. It wasn't an issue of like, oh, am I now or am I am. You know, like I didn't have that issue when it came to school or like where I fit in.
It's crazy because I'm listening to all you guys and I asked the question and I didn't even think about it for myself. For me, the little stuff as a kid just being different. I think I was very timid and shy. I just didn't like attention. So I know that sounds a little surprising, but I didn't. I don't know. Maybe it was a confidence thing. I just didn't like attention. I just wanted to be
left alone?
Neutral. I just wanted to know. I wasn't confident enough to want to stand out. So I think the negative part for me wasn't just about being teased. It's just that I stood out. It's like I'm the one. Whether it's for like I remember when my mom would dress me in African clothes, the teachers would be so obsessed giving me stars for no damn reason, and I hated it. Like they were, oh no, you're getting a star for that outfit today. That is beautiful.
Oh, so now you're trying to be funny.
And then I gotta walk up and get the star. Like, but the thing is now looking back on it, people love African clothes, so they were white, so they they really love African culture. So they would be so obsessed, and I hated it because I would have to walk and get the star, walk through the whole damn class. Now everybody's staring at me, and I'm just like, I just wanted to melt in my clothes. But if I really want to think about it, the biggest moment where I realized, okay, I'm really different is when my mom and dad were both here. And one day both my parents worked at the airport. They were like wheelchair assistants, so the people who help, get the disabled and stuff onto their flights. And one day I just remember being in the hallway with one of my friends. And she was African too, you know her. And she was just like, your mom's in jail. And I'm like, what? No, she's not. She's at work. She's like, no, I heard my mom talking about it. Your mom is in jail. And I'm just like, what? So I go to my apartment. It was a building. There was a lot of us in there. And I go to my building and I see my dad and he just looks so sad. I never see him like that before. And I'm like, she said my mom is in jail. And he's like, I don't want to talk. Like he was so stressed out that he just didn't want to talk about it. And eventually what I found out was my mom was taken by immigration. Was detained and literally in less than I want to say a year after was deported. Wow. For literally just being an undocumented immigrant. That's when they started. I don't know if y'all know what's going on now, but there's laws in place, a bed quota, where you just have to pick up immigrants off the street and fulfill it. Mm-hmm. And the biggest mistake that most people make because they don't know how to read, they don't know how to write, is that they sign a form like they
to waive their rights.
To waive their rights, and they don't know that that's what it is, and you essentially have to leave. I had an older sister who was also born here. She's 1 year older than me. She was 10 at the time. I was 9. And I had a younger sister who was 7. So that experience alone, one, I felt like I was the only one in the world going through. So I had to keep it to myself when it came to going to school. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people would see when it came to having to bring your parents. My dad became a single dad. Mm-hmm. So he was doing all the working. He was working literally full time. I will only see my dad in the morning as I'm leaving out for school. By the time I get back, he's not home. And by the time I'm asleep, he's coming in 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm asleep. So me and my sisters essentially raised ourselves. Like we were literally doing the cooking, the cleaning. I was doing laundry in the 5th grade. And it's not in my building. I'm walking a whole block with a cart. And I remember stuff that I would do, like people, when the machine would be broken, I'm like, damn, all right, I got to go to a person. So I'll go and I'm like, the machine's not working. It took my money. Where's your mom? She went to the store. So I'm like, but you can show me and I'll figure it out. So she'll come and then people will see me walking back and I would do it like 6 o'clock in the morning because I still wanted to be a kid. Like we all would go outside and play. Right. Yeah. So I would do it before all the kids in my building would wake up and everybody be outside like, what is this little girl doing? Going to do laundry. So just experiences like that really that's when things really started to take a turn for me because I had to grow up real quick. And I felt responsible for not just myself, because now you have to be mature enough to take care of yourself, but for my parents, both my mom and my dad. Like I couldn't express the emotion of how it affected me with my mom leaving to her because it's like she has no control. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know she's dying right now, the fact that she had to leave her kids and she's in a whole nother, back at her country with nothing. So I got to act like I got it all together. And then for my dad, who's also struggling, my dad eventually passed away when I got older, like a few years ago, but we never sat down and talked about how is this making you feel. Like literally I would wake up, I had scheduled cries. Like when the house is asleep, it's like, okay, you cry. Yeah, I would cry.
That's just our culture. I think that's just our culture. We don't speak and we don't speak on our emotions, and we just get angry. We get really angry and we put it upon someone. That's how we just express. I think that's just our culture now. And I'm so happy now today, we're talking about, talking to each other, therapy,
mental health. I think why it's been so big now is because we have our generation has grown up with mental health is not an issue. Like if you say that you are crazy, they're not gonna send you to a psychologist. Right. That's a crazy person kind of thing. Right. And I remember in high school I got really depressed and a lot of things were changing and my mom knew I was depressed and I would have anxiety attacks and all this thing, but she refused to bring me to a psychologist because that was only for crazy people. She'd be, my daughter's not crazy. And it, like, people would tell her, be like, you need to take her somewhere. And it didn't get to, like, a point until I myself was like, if I don't go and look for something myself, I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
And, like, it had to come to a term where, like, I started seeing a counselor at school. Like, at school it got serious, and, like, they started bringing my mom in and started, like, but if we didn't start talking about it, like, if we didn't do something about it and made it, like, known, it would have just stayed the same.
It's crazy because I feel like the way I handle all my trauma, and my sister handled hers through expression, so she was wilding out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, horrible in school, just lashing out in many different ways. I internalized mine in the worst way because I stayed focused. I just did good, but what I was doing was numbing myself from what I was feeling. So it was like I would just try to fulfill my, I don't know, just feel numb by just the happiness of getting good grades or just being good.
You focus on something. Focus on something.
You become
that's exactly how I am.
But then that shit catches up to you.
Yes, it does.
It catches up to you
become
later.
a perfectionist for things.
This
is not done. I need to work on this
and you
again.
can't sit still.
It's
very
and you become a multitasker because you want to fill your plate up with all these different things because you don't want to focus on one thing.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want a different story though. When you go to bed, it's just like.
You guys, I feel like you're all of our cultures have. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I know with my sister, what they would do is like, oh, you know what? You just gotta wash her. Like, you know, they believe in, it's not necessarily voodoo, but people doing medicine or it's a jinn. I don't know if people know. Like, they would say things like that. Did you have that experience? Because you're African.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So in 9th grade, I was okay.
I got like your stories is crazy.
Yeah.
So before I got expelled in 9th grade, me, my pregnant mom, and my little sister Masa, we went to Gambia for like 2-3 months because it wasn't working out in my freshman school, whatever. So, you know, we were living in the city for a little bit.
Just to add, for people who don't know, the first thing Africans do when their kids is acting up is sit your ass out.
It's not only Africans. It's not only Africans.
Because they just be thinking that it's American air. They be like, we need to fly.
My father used to threaten me so much. I'm gonna send you back to Haiti.
I'm like, and that was the biggest threat to me. I never wanted to go.
My father couldn't do that with me because I was born here, but he would do that with my older sister.
Yeah, they threatened
you. Like, you want me to send you to the DR? I'm like, what the heck?
I don't even know
anybody else. I feel like people who don't know, they gotta understand that's what comes with it. Like, you start lashing out, it's like a flight ticket. They on Google like how much a one-way ticket.
Whenever you get your shit together,
you say because you was a citizen. I have family. They don't care if you a citizen. It's just a 10-year mark.
No,
they make sure they get you back before 10 years and your citizenship get
revoked. My cousins would be sent too. That all summer they'd be like, "You going to this?" I'm like, "Don't send me over there. I don't know."
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to go.
I live out there. They have bathrooms outside. No light, no nothing.
That's what I used to say.
Real bougie out here.
I'm this American. We got Wi-Fi. Like, yo.
Go into your story. I just had to get that out there.
So long story short, we went from the city and then we lived in the village. And, like, that's where I was, like, you know how you talked about the term jinn? So it's, like, it's not like a ghost, but it's, like in Islam, it's, like, the term of, like, being possessed by, like a demon, but not really a demon because they have free will. Yeah. So there's good ones and bad ones. So that was, like, my first experience with that.
You experienced one?
My cousin. So my cousin lived with us in the village. She was like normal. And then, like, I guess when she turned, like, 20 and 18, she got, like, possessed or whatever. And, like, she just walks around the village. Like, they'll braid her hair. She takes it off. She'll, like, just be talking to herself. I would just, like, observe her because it was, like, my first experience with that. So it was just like, wow, this is really interesting.
But you know what it is, just to get more details on jinn, because I grew up hearing these stories, and it's almost essentially
what is jinn?
It's the jinn itself. If I am explaining it right, I feel like it's like another form of being. Like, you know, we're humans. There's animals.
So like
just put a
world.
jinn. Not a world, but it's another being, another entity.
Okay, like a spirit.
Yeah, like a spirit.
Okay.
So the thing is, it's known. It's almost like how in Christianity, like you were possessed by a demon, and you say people got possessed.
Yeah.
For Islam, it's really jinns. And there's good jinns and there's bad jinns. But a lot of times when you see people misbehaving, sometimes it could be like in a schizophrenic way, like crazy, or just lashing out sometimes. So you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it could just be like, to bring it back to what we're talking about, a lot of the times, first generation Americans, you can't talk to your parents about what you're going through. No. And a lot of people is just like, I want you to hear me. So what's the best way for your parents to hear you but then to lash out?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then they don't internalize it like that. Like, let's say white people, their kids start like, we gotta get you to therapy.
Right.
I know this is not you. You're dealing with something inside. African parents don't tell you that.
They just
No.
After the one
beat your ass.
They'll beat your ass
They'll beat
first.
your ass, but then it's that for the African experience, it's like they just think you're possessed by something, like, or something is just making you be this way. So a lot of times they won't even think about what the struggles is we're going through with school. I feel like you could talk more about that. So when you went to Africa, do you feel like it made you better?
No, because like I don't think it made me better. It was just like it was a vacation, but it was like, okay, this is great and all, but like I have to come back home. And like 9th grade, like I came back, and shortly after that I got expelled. And then I came back, like I got expelled, and then went to like East Orange Campus High. But it was just like, yo, like I had the mentality that like in order for me to survive, to actually like thrive, I need to get out of East Orange. I need to get out of my hood. I need to get out of South Mund because it's detrimental. And it was like
around that, like, is it like specifically like being in that bubble with trying to please what your parents want culturally and find your own identity?
It is. It
I
is.
agree.
It's exactly
I completely
that.
agree.
And
Because I feel like I went through that going to college.
I think that's why
I came into
I was
myself
very
going-
depressed because of that. Like you are battling, you know, knowing yourself, but also pleasing your parents, but then also doing what you like to do and what you want to be and who you want to be.
Right.
So having that pull, like it's hard. It's really hard.
I think for me, where I was mistaken, I think growing up, internalizing and being a perfectionist, that was my way of just staying out the way. Like, as long as I was being good, then I can do me. Like, I think I'll say the younger generation, the generation afterwards, which I love, is like, they not cutting their parents no slack.
Nope.
Like, it's like,
They give them a heart attack.
yeah, they be like, look, Mom, I'm about to smoke this weed. And I'm like, you know you can hide and do that. Like I feel like we learned how to be the con artist, because it's like, it was literally a dual personality. And
it really was. Exactly.
for me, my parents weren't strict because my parents were older. So I think their mindset growing up in the village in Africa, kids mature way quicker. Like, your kids are able to run free. My dad's only thing was just hang around other Africans. So long as I was saying, I'm going with my cousin such and such, I was walking in the house 4 o'clock in the morning at 10 years old, playing outside. Like, he just treated it like how they treat kids in Africa. You just free. So but that had made me feel even more emotionally responsible to parenting him. So I'll be in school. People probably thought I was in the most abusive home, because when teachers would be like, I'm going to call your house, I'm like, but in my mind at freaking 10 years old, I'm like, my dad has to work. He has to pay the rent. I can't make him take a day off and come here. Like, that was my mindset. My little sister was like, F that, call him. Let me take the phone and call him too. And my dad used to be stressed. My dad never saw my school. He never saw my elementary school. He never saw my middle school. He didn't know what school I went to. My middle school I had to audition to. I got there once again. Where's your parents? Oh, they park in the car. But I can audition now. Let me just do that. And it was that sense of, I don't know why it was an embarrassment, because I knew it wasn't normal. But I didn't feel it wasn't normal. It was like almost having a dummy.
But that was your normal.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was your normal. You knew that wasn't other people's normal.
Exactly.
You had to.
You didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable.
Right, and figuring it out. But then what caught me was going to college. It was like, now you're in the space. And it's not just about going to college. I think it's stepping outside of that bubble. You can't fake it no more. Because when you go into a place where no one knows you, so you got to know who you are and let them know who you are.
Figure it out.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like you know, everyone in my, like, growing up in a small neighborhood, everybody know Kadi's the African. No one, she never talks about her mom. No one questioned anything. So I was able to finesse things the way I wanted to finesse. My dad didn't ask no questions. Yes, I was the ultimate finesser. But then when I got to college, I remember I was in an EOF program. That's what we
Shout out
both
to
part
EOF.
of. Yeah. And it was a day where they had all the financial person come in and break down student loans and what our package is going to look like. And it was so overwhelming for me, because for the first time, I don't know. And I don't think I had anyone to turn to.
We had nobody.
So I hear people just like, I'm gonna call my mom. I'm gonna give my dad this paper. My mom, and I'm just like sitting there like,
my dad
all I'm hearing is all these numbers. Like, mind you, I'm 17 years old. I never saw a check more than $100 like at that time, and that was rarely. I was working a little part-time job before that. $5, $10, that's what I was surviving off of. So they over here talking about thousands of dollars. And I was just so overwhelmed that right after that, we had to meet with our academic advisor. And he was like, he went down, like, it was the end of the EOF program, which they tell you how you did in the program and how the teachers feel like you were going to do for the rest of the year when you actually start the real college courses. And he's like, you got an A in this class, A in this class. You're great. And he's reading all the comments the professors were saying. She's going to do great in the first year. She's ready for college, blah, blah, blah. He took some, it's just me and him in the office. He's like, okay, so what do you have to say? I just started bawling. Like, when I say bawling, you know when you, because we grow up in families, we're not allowed to be emotional.
Right, yeah,
when you have that emotional moment,
You just like let
everything out.
but in your mind, you like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then the tears just like, my nose start burning. I'm like, no, he's gonna think I'm crazy. I don't know this man like that. EOR program is only about 3 weeks, so me and this man don't know each other like that. And I don't even cry for the people I know like that. So I'm literally, the snot is coming down. I can't even catch my breath. Like, and he's like, is she happy about her grades? What is going on? And I just was like, what the hell did I sign up for? Like, what am I gonna do? I don't know. Like, and
It's overwhelming.
and you feel like you're
buying
supposed to
a
know.
house. It's like buying a house. Like you're coming out of high school and you have no idea what taxes are. You have no idea what loans are, how to pay them back, what interest is. So they give you this paper of like, this is how much the year is, and you're like, I can't even pay my phone bill.
And then but
my
the thing
parents are working 3 jobs. How am I supposed to pay for the books alone?
But the thing with being first generation American, the struggle is you feel like you're supposed to know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're growing up reading documents for your parents. You grow up like translating, going to places with them. So you have this mindset like I'm supposed to know.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't know, it's a whole anxiety attack because it's like you feel like your whole family is dependent on this. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't go and have these conversations. So I want to go into, because me and you was talking about this earlier, dating. Because I feel like dating is a huge part. I don't know if y'all know this, but a lot of like, I don't want to say racism, but a lot of people like to secure their culture by
think the same
staying in their same, dating their same culture. And what we rarely see with like first generation Americans is, I know for me, I wanted to taste the other side. I didn't want to. I was not interested. I always tell people to this day, I don't date Africans. Like, if I do, they have to be super. And it's not.
I don't date my own kind.
I know. You know why though? It's not for a bad reason. I just feel like I grew up in a building full of Africans. We grew up in the same building, and it was always like, this is my cousin, this is my cousin. So I grew up with the mindset that every African is my family, and we don't do kids and cousins over here. So when I see another African, I embrace them like brother, not my man. Like, I don't feel that. So like, for your parents, I mean, now that you guys are older, how do you guys feel like they will want y'all to date? And did you guys have any struggle with tug of war?
It's funny you bring that up. So for me, ever since I was younger, I was like, I'm not dating a Dominican man.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, my dad was a cheater. Had multiple kids, and I would see that just along the line. Dominican men were assholes, cheaters, like they would be players, like, so it's like I definitely don't want that. But when I started dating, that's all that seemed to be attracted to me, and so I started dating that. But that's not what I was really interested in. Like, yeah, okay, I find him attractive, but that wasn't what I wanted. So now I'm dating. My boyfriend is white. He's Irish.
Oh wow.
Like, Irish and Italian. So it's funny because when I started dating, my mom would, every guy I would bring that was Dominican or was African and mixed with something else or whatever, like, she'd be like, no, he's ugly or he doesn't belong for you or blah, blah. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, you are Dominican too. Do you see the color of your skin? What is wrong with you? But her thing was, she wanted to be American. Like, she would dye her hair blonde. Like, she wanted me with a white American. She wanted me to be with an American. Like, now she's, not that, you know, it didn't happen because she made it happen. It just happened that I'm dating a white man. But it's just funny how, like, I don't know if that came from me growing up and that's just what I wanted, or if that was something that was implanted into me, and that's kind of how I landed there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thinking about that, because for her, she was like, don't be like me. Don't end up with someone like your father. You know, branch out, do something different. Like, you know.
Wow.
So for me now, and I've never thought about it until you brought that question up, because now I'm like, wait, like,
I want to ask you too, but I want to comment on that because I think that's so odd, because from what I've seen in my culture is the women be miserable as hell. Like, I grew up, my family's Muslim, so it's like multiple wives, unhappy. There's this notion that women are just supposed to stay home and have babies.
Yes,
and then it's just
housewife.
a lot of them are arranged marriages.
Right,
There's no, I grew up in a house or just in an environment with no sense of romance. And I think that's where I struggle with dating because I struggle.
Don't see it.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
It's like we do what we got to do, but there was no romance. There was
I think with Dominican men, that was my problem, that they were possessive. Like, they were possessive. They wanted a housewife. Yeah, machismo. They wanted a housewife. You couldn't have an opinion. You couldn't have anything to say. You had to be home to cook for them. And I'm not that type of girl.
Right.
I'm gonna say what I gotta say. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And if you don't like it, then you can bump off. And it's clearly, it just never worked. It just never worked because they were so dominant in what they wanted and what they had to have, that I guess like maybe that's the reason why I couldn't do it.
But for what I noticed is, for your mom to tell you to want you to date opposite from what she went, I see in my culture is like they be miserable, but then still be like, when you gonna marry a nice African? But don't, you know what I'm saying? They'll like, I've had aunts tell me, I had this one, I don't even talk to like that. Like I don't even know shorty like that. She asked to speak to me. This is why I don't take phones. We're gonna talk about that. When other relatives call, I be telling my mom, no, you're not here. I don't like talking to these people.
Yo, that
But she gets on the phone and she's like, you're not married yet? Listen, all men are no good. Just find anyone and just say. And I'm just like,
That was her.
all men are no good. What are you waiting for? A good one? Please don't waste your time. Just get a husband and sit down.
Why did I picture her saying that?
And it's like, I feel like they associate singleness with just promiscuousness. Like if someone is not married or not settled down, it's because you out here busting it up. And it's like,
or you haven't accomplished anything.
Yeah.
I'm like.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting because I get so frustrated with that because with me having a daughter now, I just can't imagine any hardship that I went through, any unhappiness I felt in any form, whether I recognize what is causing it or not. I would never want my child to go through. Yeah. But I see a lot of these women come into these or in these situations and then force their daughters to, or even plan it in their head that this is what you're supposed to want.
I mean, that's the patriarchy. It's like it's generational, you know, and it's like the idea of misogyny and like realizing that it affects both men and women and non-binary people and things like that. And especially growing up in our culture, like it's so internalized, people don't even realize what they're doing. Yeah. And it's just like if you try to confront it and do something about it, you're the bad person. You're the odd one out and things like that. But like no, you're not, because no one should be treated like they are less than a human being. No one should be treated like they don't have an opinion, that they don't matter and things like that. No, you weren't born to be a housewife. You weren't born to be subservient. You weren't born for things like that. Right. You weren't born to serve a man. You know, like deadass. Like people have hopes and dreams, and it's like it's very limiting to be like, oh well, you can get an education, but to this degree. But at the end of the day, you need to be a housewife. Right. You need to have kids, because that's what makes you a woman. Right. No, that doesn't make you a woman. No. So it's like it's fucked up.
You say you do a lot of supporting for the LGBTQ community. So what made you get into that, and how is that?
So I'm a queer. I identify as being like a queer Muslim.
Okay.
So
what can I ask you? What is queer?
So queer is like the umbrella term of being like under like the LGBTQ spectrum. So you're not technically straight, but like you're not like.
You don't identify as...
so it's like you can be trans, you can be pan.
Okay, so it's just a generic term. Okay, so how first of all, how did you come into that, and especially growing up in the culture?
You know, it's crazy. So my 3 childhood like Muslim friends, so I came out to them as like being bisexual in like the 8th grade, and I remember being at like, you know all of them. So we were at we were at House. So we were at her lobby, and like I remember standing on top of the staircase and saying like, yo, like I think I'm bisexual. And like I don't remember what they said, but I remember the feelings, and I remember feeling unwanted, and I remember feeling like unwelcomed. So I like internalized that, and like a lot of like internalized homophobia and things like that, and I went back into the closet. So it was like when I came into college, I started like I went to Rutgers campus in my first 2 years, and like it was very diverse. I got to meet like so many different people and cultures. And that's where I started learning about like African American history and like going to like social justice conferences and organizing and stuff like that. And it's like through that process of meeting all these wonderful people and like educating myself, and I'm learning a lot of the toxic behaviors I have and relearning things and going to therapy and struggling with like substance abuse issues and like also like being bipolar and things like that. It was just like when I came into recovery, when I transferred. So I was like, I was in recovery, but when I came into recovery when I was at Rutgers, New Brunswick, it was like I met all these like people that were like in the LGBTQ community, and they were so welcoming and they were so affirming of themselves, you know, and like it just gave me the hope to like really just live in my truth, you know. And it was just
that's when you came out.
Yeah, it was like I came out as being queer around like 21, and like all my friends knew. And then like those childhood friends, like I came out to like 2 of them. The other one I don't really talk to like that. And it was just like really affirming. And then like eventually like I was part of this organization in DC, the Muslim Youth Leadership Council. So it was just like a bunch of queer Muslims all over the United States, and we came together and did social justice projects. But it was like, yo, like somebody like came out to their brother at that weekend retreat, and I was just like, wow, like that's crazy. And I'm just like, I like love my siblings to death, and I was just like, I don't think I could ever tell them that I'm queer. And like I told
family don't know.
No, so they know. So I came out to my sister Monster first, and she's like, oh, like bitch, I already knew. Like you had a pride every year. Like I was just like, wow. So it was like, and I came out to my brother, who's like, you know, Muhammad, and he's like a grown ass man, and like we have all these discussions about like the patriarchy and misogyny and things like that, and like how to respect women and stuff like that. And he's just like, Nyuma, like, I don't care. Like, you know, like, as long as you, like, are still Muslim and you love a lot and, like, that's your personal relationship. And it was just, like, it was great. And it was really affirming, you know?
And your parents, how did they
Did
take
you come
that?
out to your parents?
Yeah.
So I don't think I would necessarily come out to my parents for the simple fact that this idea of coming out is, like, I don't say it's like a white people thing. In the sense that, like, we don't have the safety. If you're a person of color, we don't have the safety or privilege of saying like, if we come out, like what exactly?
Yeah.
There's like violence and things like that. So I'm just like, it's better to like be cordial and like still be myself, but without having to like, you know, conform to anything, you know.
I want to touch on that before I get to you, because I know what that feels like for me with my dad specifically. As we got older, he was just on some, okay, I just want you. Now I wasn't able to hide anymore behind my schoolwork. It's like, I want you to get married now. Like, I want you to find a good Muslim man and settle down and get married. And it was so uncomfortable for me because I didn't grow up in a household where we talk about, you wasn't allowed to have no boyfriend. Yeah. So it's like,
a whole new
no boyfriend when you get married. Right?
Like, you didn't give me a chance to date yet.
Right.
Like,
so even though I knew what I wanted, it still was a very uncomfortable type of space to have with my parents, my dad specifically. So I remember it reached a point where there was talks where he was trying to hook me up with somebody. Like literally they do this weird shit, and it really makes me uncomfortable just thinking about it, because to me, my dad loved me to death. I was his favorite. And in his eyes, it's like the best thing I could want for my daughter is to get her a nice Muslim man and for her to settle down. So it took me time to really settle down. It's like, this is his form of love. Mm-hmm. But this was so uncomfortable to me because it comes off like prostitution. Like, I don't want, out of all people, my dad hooking me up with anybody.
Arranged marriage and stuff.
I just remember the talks of it, but he never came to me directly, right? Mm-hmm. He was like going through like my cousin, like an older cousin of mine. And I remember it was times I had just missed it. Like, he called and told me to come, and I really thought he was telling me to come for something. But supposedly the guy was there. But luckily I was stuck at the beach. And there was one time I was sleeping in a room, and I didn't think he knew I was the one sleeping. He probably thought it was my sister. And he came in, and he's on the phone with the guy like, yeah, no. Because the guy kept calling me, and I was sending straight to voicemail. Like, I'm not even about to do this with y'all. Because as much as, like, bold I am, it's uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. If it was anyone else, I could do it. But it's like the way you grow up, it kind of stuck in the relationship. Even though I went to college and I learned how to speak up for myself and say my wants and needs, the relationship I had with my parents because of the culture stayed the same.
It's hard to say no
to
your parents
exactly.
because you're so used to being there and being a parent to them that it's like saying no to them is like, damn, like and knowing that that's something that they want.
Right. And not even saying no. Like, the fact that as a parent-child relationship, you want the parent to give you that open space. So for me, it's like, I don't have no issue saying no, but you never even gave me the comfort level to talk about relationships with you. I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about what I look for in a relationship and why I'm not dating now. So where I battle with, and I'm still battling with it now because I never had to finish the story. He came into the room or whatever, and he happened to be on the phone with the guy. And I guess the guy was like, well, she's not answering my call, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no, she's still in, like, she's just being childhood. Like, don't worry about it. I'm going to talk to her, blah, blah, blah. And I just stayed under the covers, like, literally cringing. And then when I came out, I felt like he realized, like, he had left the room, but I walked past the living room, and I think he had a moment like, damn, was that her in the room? But I just act normal. And then fast forward, my dad suddenly passed, like, from congestive heart failure. And the part that I struggle with is, like, everyone's always like, I know your dad's proud of you. Like, you went to school, you made something of yourself. You was always his favorite. But part of me feel like where he was most unhappy with is my rebellion on trying to follow the protocol of what they do as far as like being a young African girl, just finding you a man and sitting down somewhere and getting knocked up. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even now, my sisters are trying to follow that path. Where I want to get married, of course, but like I said, what they have in mind and what I have in mind is
different
it's just two different
things.
things, and how it's supposed to happen specifically.
Yeah.
It's not even about who. How it's. I'm not going to show audition for nobody to be my man. Like, I am the catch. Okay, so when he comes, he comes. But like now with my mom, I did mention that my mom was deported, but then eventually after my dad passed, my mom ended up getting her citizenship. It just worked out that way, and she came back. And now with her, that's her thing, and I know it really bothers her. But what's heartbreaking for me is that it's not in a space of controlling. It's just that this is what they think they should want for their kids, and it's gonna bring them happiness. So I'm already battling with my dad's death of like a part of me feels like wants to confirmation like, yo, is he happy with me? Especially I have a child now, and I have a child by an American guy. Like, and it's probably wouldn't have been his ideal candidate because my dad went a hardcore African Muslim, and he's not that. So even just with having my daughter, I just really like, damn, I wish I would have got that experience. Like my mom, I would have never thought she would have responded when I told her I was pregnant. She was happy. She supported me. And I grew up thinking that, bruh, the day I get pregnant, I'm going to just pack my bag silently and cross the border to
I
Mexico.
still think like that.
I would tell Donald Trump to build a wall around me because
I still think like I'm so afraid of my dad finding out that if I, God forbid, I get knocked up without getting married first. Like his visions, like I know his visions, like for me to get married, have a kid, and like live in a nice house and do all that stuff. That's what he wants me to do, and I'm trying. Like I want to go down that path, but if shit happens, shit happens. But I still don't want myself. I'd rather be in a like committed relationship or marriage for me to have a kid.
Well, does your dad want you to date specifically Haitian men, or do you think
my dad? I think he want me to marry a white guy. To be honest with
you,
That's interesting. It's interesting because me and him, we don't have that conversation. We don't talk about dating or anything. He doesn't see me. I don't bring nobody to my house. Like nobody comes to my house, and I don't talk about guys in front of my dad. Like I'm so like. I can't say scared, but I'm like embarrassed.
Yes.
Embarrassed and comfortable. Like, how do I tell my dad? Like, I'm talking to this guy.
I'm disgusted. You just saying that.
Like, I'm talking to this guy. I'm going like, oh, like I just sneak out the house. Like, I'm going out. Bye. Yeah, he can't. I remember one time he came out the house. My father got it like a mean grip face. He just look at you like, I'm gonna kill you. Like that's the face he gave. And some guy came to my house. He didn't come in my house, but he just stopped by, just give me a bottle of Hennessy for my birthday. And like my father was walking out the house. I was like, I was shitting bricks. And mind you, this was like 2 years ago. I'm like in my 20s and I'm still shitting bricks that my dad seen a guy give me something. And my father's looking at me like, guy was like, hello. He's like, And he walked away. He was like,
that is my dad. Oh my God.
That's my dad.
My daddy and your dad would have been best friends.
I swear that my dad, he's very firm, but we don't talk about dating or anything like that.
Did he say anything to you about
he doesn't say anything to me. I remember one time, embarrassing story. So I had a guy in my house.
Oh my God.
He left because the way my room was, so my dad was on the other side. In the room, I was in college, so I came back from home for like the summer. So the guy came to my house. In my room, you can leave the house. You can leave the house from the front. And my dad usually comes to the back. So he was leaving my house. I think he was gonna get something to eat. He left the house. My father was sitting on the porch. I did not know. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God, I would have died.
I
would have went to Mexico.
But we had an upstairs neighbor. So like she can leave through the house, the front door too. But I knew my father knew it was for me. Because he came out the house, my father like, where you coming from? And I heard him. I heard him. I peeked out the window like, I was shivering in the room. I'm like, oh my gosh. And the guy was like, yo, I just saw him like, do not shoot. Don't fucking come back to my house. I was like, don't drive past my house during the day. Because my father, he would pay attention to everything. Like, if he see your car again, he'll know who you are.
Right.
I'm like, don't come by my house again, sir. Like, if you come the time that my dad is, I know he's not going to be here. But it was so weird. My father never brought it up to me.
See, it's those.
He never, and it's like awkward. I know he knows the guy came from me, but it's just like awkward, like because he doesn't want to have that awkward conversation, like
Right.
Yeah, I think it's awkward.
Want to talk about
he never want to talk about it. So it's just like
I had a cringe. Never talked about it.
but it was so.
He
I was
see me
in the-
come home at 4 a.m. and he'll be going to work at 4 a.m. and he'd just look at me like.
To this day,
I keep walking. I'm like, okay.
my dad to this day still when I walk in the house like 6 o'clock in the morning, come from somebody's house, he was like, "Oh, you wasn't home last night, and I'd be like, "Oh shit!" Like, I don't want you to know I wasn't. I'd be like, "Yeah, I was out. I was partying. Like I was out," and he was like, "Okay." And like even I don't be home for sometimes during the middle of the week. Cause my father's schedule, like he comes home like 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if he just randomly go in my room just to see if I'm there. I don't move my car though. My car stays in the back. So when my car's not there, he knows I'm not here. But most of the time when I go out, somebody pick me up.
Right.
And he just be like, he knows. So I know I'm like, yo, he just be going to my room just checking if I'm there. Cause he just don't be knowing that I'm not home. Cause when I wake up to go to work, he's still asleep. So we don't pass each other in the morning at nighttime. Like it's that type of situation with me. I only see him on Fridays and Saturdays, to be honest with you.
Oh
and
wow.
So like I'll be like, oh damn man, like he knows I'm like out here doing pimping. He know I'm out here pimping. Like
I hate talking about this
thing.
story, but I had a cringeworthy sex conversation with my dad.
conversation?
By accident. Okay, so what happened was it was in high school. And I had a friend who we will always joke, like, he'd be like, you gonna make it famous. And I'm like, no, you gonna make it famous. Because he played an instrument, like the violin or something like that. But he played it really good. So it was my senior year. I was not having sex. But the guy, he came and he was like, listen, when I make it, whoever makes it first, he gave me a Magnum condom. He was like, we're gonna that's how we're gonna know, oh, it's me, and we're gonna give each other an autograph or something. Like, it was a joke like that. He gave me the Magnum condom, and I tucked it in my pocket and went about my merry way. So, my dad was always like, really, we have the same personality, but he just was like doing the most, right? But I didn't think anything of it. And then when I got home, he took my uniform pants. He used to always get on me for like, when I get home, I'll take off my uniform, probably leave it hanging around in the living room. So he grabbed my pants, and I'm thinking he's about to yell and be like, I told you I keep. He's like, no, come here. Come here. And as soon as the first come here, remember the Magnum kind of. I said, when I say my back started melting, I felt my kidneys doing cartwheels and backflips. Like, so I'm like, so instantly he was like, he pulled this out. I was like, no, the school gave it to me. Thankfully, we was learning about sex education around that same time in health. And I went and took the book and opened the page to the penis diaphragm. Like, look! We're taking a class in school. Mind you, ain't no school giving out Magnum condoms. They giving them cheap ass ones. But I was like, look, in school, this is what we learning. Look at this. I was like, no. He was like, okay. He was like, no, because he took us out. He was like, I just want you to know guys are not good. Like, I didn't even want to. I'm okay, Dad, I said it was cool. Like, we ain't got to finish. Like, he tried to get all deep and like, no, because God. No, I said what I said. It was cool. End of discussion. And I just walked in my room, and when I tell you, I still wanted to leave the country just having that small little encounter like that. It was just uncomfortable. So I always wonder with dating, like, what their expectations are. Does it affect you? Because even I could do what I want to do,
right.
But I feel like everyone, in a sense, wants their parents to be happy
for who they date and
I think that's so important because even my daughter's father had a great relationship with my mom, and honestly, because I grew up in a family where you wasn't allowed to have boyfriends, wasn't taught, I already prepared that my love life will be something separate to my family. Like I never thought about, I can't wait till me and meet my mom, my dad, because I'm like, I already know I'm not dating no African, and I'm like, I'ma just rock it out for the rest of my life and just have a secret boyfriend on the side, and they're just never gonna expect me to get married. But that wasn't the case. And when my daughter's father and my mom had a relationship, I now realize how important that is for the child in you. Like, you know what I'm saying? For your parents to love who you love. Yeah. So that's what made me question. I get what you mean by not having that comfort space to open up. But then I feel like it's the loss we take of. Yeah.
So are you comfortable with your mother?
No, you know what it is? My mom was. When she got deported, we were separated for 14 years. So she didn't come back. She left when I was 9. She didn't come back until I was 25. So it was I feel like for her, she was just trying to learn us again.
Yeah.
I think things would have been different.
Yeah.
I think things would have been different if she was still here. I would have moved with her like I moved with my dad. But I think for her, it was just like she really did not see us straight up for 14 years in the phone conversations, because we don't have that emotional part of our relationship. It was very just cut and dry every time we spoke or whatever. So I think because she was so open to learning us, I never introduced him as my boyfriend. He just came for Thanksgiving, then just came around. Like I never sat with her and had a conversation. But she knew. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think even that, just her knowing and me having that comfort zone to do that, it meant a lot to me, because especially dating people who families aren't like that, you feel really outcasted. Like, damn, you introduced me to your family. Shit ain't never gonna happen on this side. You know what I'm saying? High school, you think you love, so people want to meet parents. And I remember my high school date, my prom date. His mom was like, shout out to Demetrius. His mom was just very like, okay, well, you guys are going to prom with each other, so we gotta meet parents. And I'm like, dog, what is up with your mom? Like, she trying to kill me. So when I tell you, I went and pulled the coolest African relative out of my archive. Mind you, we wasn't even that close. Like, but I'm like, all right, I'm gonna find somebody, because they ain't gonna be my parents. But I'm gonna find a parent, a family member that will be cool enough to meet your mom or whatever like that. And it turned out to be my aunt. But just things like that, I just hated. I realized how much of a burden it is for us to have to tiptoe around that.
It's
like,
a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Yeah, and pressure.
So we talked about a lot of the downsides, but a lot of things that I've been thinking about lately, especially with having my daughter, it's a lot of things that I experienced that I want her to not experience, the things that we experienced that created values in me that I want her to have. That's so important. And it's like, because I'm first generation, I'm like, I don't know if it gets watered down, so I'm so happy that my mom is here. Just things like how we had to read government documents, like the sense of responsibility I had. When I went to college, that's when I realized, y'all dumb as hell. Not even smart, not even academically. I'm talking about y'all got no life skills.
They can't do anything. Their parents do everything for them. Well, we had to cook by ourselves.
I felt like those were the ones who didn't make it. Like, you hear about college and it's like, college is hard. When I got to college, I'm like, it's not the academic part. It's the social part. Like, because college is not just about college, but as soon as you turn 18 and you making that transition to adulthood, you have to have a sense of self. Right. And a lot of people don't have that because they were sheltered their whole life. Yes. And then you get to a place where you gonna fold. Like, you know what I'm saying? This shit is gonna try. College academically was easy, but socially that shit tried me on all levels. Like, when I got to college, I was like, I'm friendly. Everyone likes me. And my first roommate experience, so I was just like, because you forget the dual personality that we create being first generation Americans. We were able to divide that into hours. Like, in school, you in there for 8 hours. Separate. So 8 hours, I'm Kadi. But then when I got home, I'm Kadi. Like, so it's like I had breaks in between. But then you go to college and I was living on campus. It was no break.
There's no break.
So you are mindful. Yeah. It's just like, okay, after a while, where's my dad to get these Americans away? Like, and now I want him to just make me stay in the house and not hang with these people or whatever. So it was a struggle, but now realizing with me having my daughter, it's just like, it's so much values that I feel like comes with being a first generation American. Like, so what are some things that you guys feel like you took from the experience or is a part of your character?
I think for me, my drive. If it wasn't for me being able to grow up, like become an adult so early, I don't think that I would have the drive that I have now and the ambition that I have, because I want better. Like, for me, I don't want to settle to just graduate college and then do what? You know what I mean? Like, have a 9 to 5. That's not what I want, because, and I don't know if it's because seeing my parents just being like the minimum for them, or if it's just the fact that I've grown up just doing so much and we were raised basically being adults, that now that I am an adult, I'm like, well, now I have to do all these things. Like, this is what my goals are. And I just have more ambition than, I feel like I see other people and they're doing barely anything. And I'm like, how old are you?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I like.
Don't you want more for yourself?
Yes, exactly.
That ain't an option when you see your parents at the lowest. Like, knowing what's out there, and it's like, oh, nah.
My father knows very little English, and he's been here for so many years, and he has had to stick with the same job because of that limit of English. Like, he can do so much, but he has to work with his hands and be on his feet all the time because of that. And for me, it just breaks my heart because I get a paycheck, and then I see his paycheck, and mine is triple his. And I'm just like, and I don't know if it's that. I honestly think it is the ambition to like want more, because when I do have kids, I want them to understand like you have to work for what you want. Like, I know I'm grateful that my parents, like, when you're little, you don't think about that. You think about all the hard. But I am very grateful that I went through what I had to go through, and that I grew up so fast, because now I'm able to handle situations a lot better than other people out there. Other people are just crumbling. And I'm like, that was nothing. Like,
we struggled when we was young.
Right.
Now we see the struggle, and we're like, oh shit, our parents was alive when they said they didn't have no money.
Right.
Like, they really didn't have the money. Like, now I see exactly what they're talking about. Now I gotta push myself more to like be better, not to be better than my parents, to help them out in the future also.
But essentially using those same principles they're on. Like, granted, they couldn't do much here without not having the education, not being from here. But it's those same principles of seeing that hard work. We just get to translate it in our education and taking it to another level.
Exactly.
Tamara, what is it for you?
Me, it's the same thing pretty much. I like the drive and me push myself to be like a better person, you know, such as, you know, our parents didn't make us do a lot of things. I believe like cooking, cleaning, growing up faster than we needed to. So now we're looking like, I look back like, wow, they taught me something that a lot of kids nowadays take for granted.
Adults.
Yes, kids, adults,
yes.
you know, don't know how to do the simple things in life. And I'm like, oh, I was doing this when I was like in like elementary. Like, I was cooking, cleaning, I was reading all these stuff. Like, the knowledge that I grasped from helping my parents out is totally different from people that didn't grow up the same way as we did, which is a privilege.
Yes.
It is a privilege, and some people don't understand that. Like, they see it as, oh, you struggle. Yes, I struggle, but now I know like what struggle is, and I'm like taking that and make myself better. And some people don't see it like, oh, okay, yeah, you're struggling, you had a hard life. I think I had a good life. My parents,
we had
like, they push, they work. I see how hard my parents work, and like till this day, they still working really hard. It's like, oh, you working really hard. Like, thank you for paying for all these trips, paying for the shoes I know you couldn't afford to pay for. You know, my hair that needed to get done. If I don't look all bunny, like, they did what they had to do to make sure I was good. And I'm like, I'm taking that and I'm like, I gotta do better. Like, I want to be better, and I want to make sure, like, I make sure that my parents are proud of me. Like, okay, my daughter did this and this and this. And like, I'm proud for, you know, I'm not gonna be the best, but I want them to be proud of what I have accomplished. I'm going to accomplish in the future, pretty much. So
I'll go because now I want to answer my own question. I think the most thing I'm grateful for is the culture. Like, I'm so thankful for the culture. I think especially in this time more than nothing, like, just not having culture in this time where we're watching the president, like,
oh my God,
talk about like people of color in the ways that just having that sense of self. I told you I didn't go to Africa for the first time until I was 25. And for me, I didn't realize until I landed there that, damn, I never knew what home felt like. And mind you, I grew up here 25 years, never saw that land. But it made me think of a lot of my African American friends who, like, America don't feel like home to nobody. Not even African Americans. Like, I feel like it's only home to white people. I don't go to D.C. to the White House and get emotional. I mean, when Obama was there, but after those 2 seconds, you take 10 steps away from the White House, you just like, I'm back in white old America. Like, we are just visitors here. So that sense of culture, just the different things, like me having my daughter now, like, I grew up from a praying family, and being Muslim and the culture added to it, like, we just believe in energy, spirits, and things, the spirit and things like that. Like, I get my daughter prayed over, like, things like that gives me so much release as a mom, and I'm so thankful for that because it makes me feel safe in life. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's my safety. My culture is my safety net. So Yeah, that's me. So
I
you.
like that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna echo a lot of what y'all said. Like I guess like using the word resiliency and realizing like with being a part of like the African diaspora is that like, you know, all these systems of like white supremacy, like capitalism, like literally trying to kill us every single day, and like we're still thriving. Like we make gold out of fucking 10 cents. Right. And it's just like, that's the black experience. Like, you're trying to kill us every day and we still wake up. And we still do what we have to do. And we still make it. And we still survive. And we still have community. And we still laugh. We still like, and we still cry together. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about like, not only being like, it's really important, like I recently just moved back home. And like I'm realizing like the most important thing that I can give to my siblings is realizing that they are their own individuals. And that no matter what like a system decides, you literally can do anything that you want. You can be anybody that you want. You can still love your parents and still be true to yourself. You can, no matter what you've been through, like trauma wise and things like that, like your healing and your recovery is your accountability. And you have the right and you deserve to heal, to recover, to live the life that you deserve. Just for being human, just for being alive, you know?
Right. I love you ladies. This crazy because I literally, people don't know this, I just mix random people together. I know people like, well, how'd she pick her guests? Like, these are 3 different individuals that I know from 3 different areas of my life. And I feel like we all mesh very well because y'all drop them gems, honey. If y'all want to get, well, y'all gave y'all social networks in the beginning. We're going to put it at the end of this video. So, thank you guys for tuning in. See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm Baby Oprah. Voice of reason. Voice of reason. What are y'all doing out here tonight?